MAH00771 Duchamp Road, Broussard, Louisiana, from R2 to A2.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Morgan Alamo. I'm the Planning and Zoning Coordinator for St. Martin Parish. I'm sure I've spoken to a few of you about the rezoning of 1675 Duchamp Road. Mr. Billy Broussard has come to us, the Planning Commission and the Planning and Zoning Department, to rezone his property to A2. He was not in compliance with us, so that is why he has now come to us to rezone the property. The reason for requested change, he wanted to use the property, he wants to use the property to keep livestock, store and bale hay, grow mushrooms, and then place tree and vegetative debris to feed those mushrooms. As of today, I wanted the number to be accurate. So we received 24 phone calls from the community opposing the rezoning. And in that area, the calls that we received, the community had concerns about road issues, traffic issues. And what I'll do first is I'll let Mr. Broussard come up, and I want him to explain his actual, how can I say that, exactly what he wants to do, how he wants to keep his livestock, his baling hay, his growing of his mushrooms. I want him to explain to the community exactly what he wants to do on his property. So I'm going to give Mr. Broussard that chance to come up tonight and let everyone hear what he has to say and why he wants to rezone to A2.
Good evening, everybody. Obviously, I'm not Billy Broussard. My name is Michael Adley, but I'm the attorney for Billy Broussard. I'm going to be pretty brief because I know nobody's here to hear me speak. They all want to hear Mr. Broussard, and they all want to be heard. But I just wanted to reiterate what we're actually here for, what we're requesting, and to kind of dispel some of the false rumors that have been going around about what Mr. Broussard is requesting. Because I know there's a lot of concerns out there, but I believe a lot of these things are not matters for concern.
Mr. Adley, I'm sorry, the podium mic was off. Can you reintroduce yourself again? I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay. My name is Michael Adley, and I'm the attorney for Billy Broussard. And as I was saying, I believe there's a lot of concern out there. And this concern is for things that there should not be any concern about because it's not what Mr. Broussard is requesting. So we're just here requesting that his property be rezoned to Ag 2. So first I'm going to go just where his property is, because I know, I've heard there's confusion about where he's even located. His property is at 1675 Duchamp Road. If you're going down Duchamp Road, you can't miss it because you'll see Dubrock's used car lot. And it is what a car lot looks like. Car lot, flags, everything. If you look on the left side of it, there's a property with a pit. That's not Mr. Broussard's property. His property is on the right side. It's about 33 acres of green space. He bought it in September of 2020. He's cleaned it up. And what he wants to do with the property is just 4 things. He wants to be able to store and bale hay on the property. And we've all driven around the area. We know other people are storing and baling hay around that area. He wants to keep livestock on the property. Again, I've seen livestock out there already. Not on his property, on other people's property. And then on Mr. Broussard's property, he's got this canyon. You're not going to be able to see it when you're driving by. It's not visible from the road. But he has this canyon that at the bottom of it, he's trying to grow some mushrooms. Because he heard mushrooms were environmentally friendly. And he also heard that it was a good way to, environmentally friendly way to recycle tree debris. So occasionally, he will put tree debris that he has at the bottom of the canyon, which again, you can't see from the road, to help feed those mushrooms. And that's all he's asking. He just wants to rezone his property to Ag 2 for those 4 reasons. He's not looking to drill for oil, which I've heard. He's not opening a dump. Nobody's going to be backing up a garbage truck to dump anything in his property. He just wants to do those 4 things. So I hope that alleviates some of the concerns you have. To the council, I want to say this is an effort to compromise what Ms. Morgan had brought up earlier, but this is not a waiver of any legal rights. if y'all decided that Mr. Broussard is doing something in the future that y'all don't believe comports with Ag 2, you still have all your legal rights to proceed against him. All we're here for is just, can we get his property zoned to Ag 2? So I hope with that we can keep the discussion just confined to that and what he's actually trying to do on the property, and not these other rumors that I've heard. And so with that, I thank you for your time, for your patience, for the opportunity to be heard. I'm going to turn the microphone over to Mr. Broussard.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Billy Broussard. I'm assuming these are some of the neighbors that live in the area. Nice to meet y'all. I haven't really met, maybe like 2 or 3, 4 maybe from, I've been on this property at 1675 Duchamp for 1.5 years now. I've been doing pretty much the same thing that I'm requesting to be, that I'm requesting to do. I've had people send me screenshots of Facebook messages where people said, we need to get together, go door to door, and shut this guy down. People didn't even know where the property was. So, not too in that area, like I measured certain people's property, and a lot of them average about 1 acre, 1.5 acres. As you can see, I just so happen to have 33 acres. It's property that other people and neighbors know more about the property. Well, now stuff changed, a lot of the drainage, etc., things like that. But other people, like people I talked to just a couple weeks ago, that neighbor, he said, we've been hunting and fishing that property for years. So, and it's been mentioned, this is a neighborhood. I wouldn't say this is a neighborhood. We have some serious wildlife. My dad, I call it a farm, my dad calls it a wildlife refuge. I mean, it's just a game reserve, I'm sorry. And I'm like, it is what it is. If anybody knows the property that's from back there, I've talked to some other people that were raised up in this area that I invited and said, come check it out. They went back there, they love it, I've been cleaning it up, it's very nice. And they said, I didn't even know this was back here. So this is not your normal piece of property. Interesting also, most people have a neighbor on their right, a neighbor on their left. If you look, I have about 15 to 20 neighbors that border my property. So I'm going to have, more issues with neighbors, but also ways of helping neighbors, because drainage is probably the most important thing in St. Martin Parish. I've had the parish, and there's a drainage ditch that from the railroad tracks cuts across my property in the back. There were some culverts. In 2016, the parish did a great job cleaning that out. They pulled out the culverts that were there. Since I bought the property, I requested they came back and they did a real good job resetting those culverts. In resetting those culverts, they were also approved. It was also approved by NRCS before they set those culverts. So I actually had NRCS come out just a couple of days ago and drove them throughout the whole property. They love what they see in regards to drainage. I've done things helping my neighbors, like even the car lot next to me. He says that his car lot, part of his drainage, that water goes to the road. But the back pasture, he said that goes towards you. And he can tell you that I've done a lot of drainage on the backside of his property where it connects mine, that after a big rain, I called him, I texted him and said, what'd you think about the drainage? He said, it's draining. So other people, it's somewhat at the peak of that Coteau Ridge. I asked, and some people say, well, not sure where it starts. If it starts by the railroad track or if it starts like by the car lot, I'm not sure. But drainage was probably the most important thing. Actually, when I hired my attorneys, one of the attorneys asked the question was, what's the deal with your drainage? Knowing that, especially St. Martin Parish, in these areas, drainage is the biggest issue. I take on all my water for the most part. Practically everything from the canal going north, all that water comes onto my property and is stored on my property in my own retention ponds. I have about those 2 ponds in the back, just those 2, I think are 7 acres. So the thing is all that water I'm taking on and it goes into the ground. It's not draining into a parish ditch, except from the ditch going, I guess, southeast. That water does come, I'm guessing, around 4 or 5 acres into that ditch and drains out. So I've cleaned up. When you first got there, the property, you got so many feet from the road, and that was it. That's as far as you were going. Now the parish can take their trucks, I got a picture of them just the other day, they can take their trucks, drive them onto my property, because when they do work on Duchamp, they don't really have anywhere for them to park their trucks. So I told them, you'll see my cameras go off, I see them, they come in with the trucks and trailers all the time. So they go in there, turn around, sometimes I drive by, they'll park out there, because they have nowhere to park. But they can actually drive their trucks with trailers, with their excavator, all the way to that back canal. I personally cut the back canal the other day on my side of the property and talked to Mr. Darren Boban, which has been very helpful, and cleaned it up and said, okay, now I got it cut for y'all so y'all can dig. So since drainage is a very important deal, there was those culverts that were reset, drainages. I mean, I've been having it for a year and a half, and I've, other people even that looked at mine and discussed, they said, for somebody to buy this property, you would almost have to own the equipment, because the property, the value of the property for anybody to do anything with, it would cost so much money to own the equipment that I just so happened to own. So when I bought it, I had that in mind, and other people that encouraged me to buy it said, Billy, nobody can really do that. I talked to some of the biggest real estate agents in Acadiana, and they even looked at it in the past and said, we looked at it and it was so neat with the ponds and all, but what can be done with this? It costs a fortune to do anything because you'd have to own the equipment.
I don't want to interrupt you, and I think everything that you're saying, how you've improved the property is really, really great. But I think the Planning Commission wants to know more about the reason why you're wanting to rezone the property, the livestock operation, the storing and baling hay operation, and the mushroom operation. We want to give you this time to speak about the operations that you want to do. So we want to hear about that.
Okay,
And
I apologize. It's just what I've been doing for the last year and a half. And I know it's important to my neighbors about their drainage.
It definitely is, and we really appreciate you talking about that and speaking about that right now, because I know that your neighbors appreciate the drainage issue too, but we really need to stick on track about what you're here for today.
I'm here because y'all requested for me to be here. I didn't ask for it. I mean, I asked for rezoning because y'all through a lawsuit asked that I would do this, and I'm respectfully going through this process.
It's part of the process.
What we would like to hear is specific to your activity that you propose on the petition. Help us to understand what you intend to do specific to that.
Okay, well, that's what I've been doing is develop.
With emphasis on the trees.
Well, it's all, it's only a handful of things. Livestock, I would like to drainage has been the main thing I've been dealing with for the last year and a half of a lot of the work that I've been doing on the property. So that's why I brought that up, and I wanted to make sure this was on record about my drainage, because that's the most important thing I think for people.
Is there anybody here that has an objection to Mr. Broussard on the grounds of drainage? Okay, that's not a problem.
So everybody's good on drainage.
Is anybody here who has any objection to his baling hay on the property? Baling hay, okay.
Okay. All right. Again, like you said, where my property is, I'm gonna start, I gotta say that. You drive up, there's a big pit with trees in it. I don't own that property. Right next to that, there's a right-of-way for the Laotians that go to the back. There's a cattle guard that's just been installed not long ago. That's not me. There's a nice fence they just built across the front. That's not me. Then there's the car lot. Then there's mine. And I have so many feet of property along the front bordering Duchamp. I'm not sure where I'm going to build fences just yet. I have to work with my neighbors because, like I said, all that's a lot of the back of their property. So, like Mr. Dubrow, we go back and forth on different issues. We agree on some things, we disagree on others. I have to cooperate with them, is my idea, because they have animals, I have animals, and it's like I eventually want to fence it in. So I have to work with, with them in regards to property lines and where we're going to maybe repair, build fences.
So
That's the livestock.
potentially you could be raising cattle on the entire piece of property.
I don't know. I don't, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know yet. I bought a piece of property that was considered like wasteland, and I've been just fixing it up and cleaning it. So the work and the activity and like when I first got there, people were concerned, said, I hear machines, what's going on, what are they doing? And then, like I said, the drilling, things like that. It's like, so I want people to understand what the equipment and what they've been seeing. Like when you go down 182, I own a part of it that borders the railroad track on 182. I've been cleaning it up. So that's what a lot of what activity that people that do live close by have been seeing is my machines cleaning and drainage. Those fish ponds in the back, I've been cleaning the edges. I have 4 little girls and another little girl on the way. We fish the ponds. We like, fishing. So it's a family farm. So the rezoning, I think it's zoned okay the way it is right now, but y'all asked me to change it. So the thing is, it's fish ponds in the back, which that we family fishing just the other day. It's infested with wood ducks. But
Specific to your application. But
that's what I've been doing with my property. And I wanted, the reason why is these are all my neighbors that's the issues that I'm having. They're talking about livestock, you're like, where am I put the fences? There's ponds, so you can only fence in certain areas. I gotta work with my neighbors in regards to fencing. Drainage was the first thing. So there is the livestock, I went to the first thing that they have. The livestock, baling hay. There's areas I wanna clean up, I'd like to bale hay, store hay. I have round bales of hay stored. I have an area where there's a barn in the front. I have some paddocks right now. I'm feeding some steers right now. We have hay, we have feed for the animals. A lot of this stuff is way up the road. Nobody knows it's even back there. I'm explaining what's back there because you can't just pass by and see what's even there. There's a box trailer. One of my neighbors, I went and talked to her. He said, what about that billboard? And I didn't know what she was talking about at first. I said, what billboard? And she looked at that sign. I said, oh. I said, it's an old trailer I had that we store square bales of hay in, which is far off the road. But she lives across the street and it gives her a farm permit. So that's it. My neighbor, I'm gonna, we're gonna talk about it. That's the hay issue. Growing mushrooms. I have done a lot of talking to everybody, including Mike Strain, our commissioner. He said, Billy, if you can get that going, that's great. So, and other people I've talked to said it's very friendly to the environment. It's good to repurpose this material. You see it on the news, other horticulturists, etc., saying it's not good to keep taking these trees and putting them in landfills. It's good to do something with this material. So I said, you know what? That was part of my idea when I bought the property. I said, I can buy this little farm, I can do these different things. This all fits on, growing the mushrooms. And replacing the vegetative debris. I placed the vegetative debris there in a canyon. One of the canyons, that one doesn't really hold water, it holds a little bit on one side right now. But that pit I measured, I think that canyon is 900 foot long by, I think, around 200 foot wide. So there's an area right now that if you do percentage-wise, it's 33 acres. The area's probably around, just to say around the size of this room, roughly. So compared to the regular neighbors that have an acre, it's about percentage-wise with their little small flower bed is in the front yard. Except it's in the backyard and nobody can see it. So that is pretty much covers what and I'm already doing this stuff. It's not like
What stuff you already?
every single thing that I'm asked, that's right here, except the fence and livestock.
You already grow mushrooms?
I'm in the process of building my area for my mushrooms, yes.
So you haven't done it yet?
No, I've been doing it. I've been doing it for a year and a half now.
You've grown and sold mushrooms?
No, I'm not selling anything. I told y'all more than once and made this clear. This property, there's no business there. Like I've been to this board, this
What are you
community.
gonna do with the mushrooms?
That's for my personal private use.
Oh,
So there's no business. There's no business activity. I have no customers. You're not gonna see any customers coming to this property because I have no customers. It's not a business. I'm asking, and through this, it's Ag 2. This is a private piece of property. It's actually, just so everybody knows, it's posted at the courthouse as, it's posted. No one's supposed to be on my
how
property.
do the trees and the vegetative matter get back there?
I'll put them there.
Okay, how do you do that?
I just take them, I put them in there, I've excavated, and I put them in the pit.
I mean, people bring that to you?
No, it's some access to vegetative debris that I have.
Some stuff cut off your property?
That is debris that I put there, that's mine. And that's as far, and other than that, I have no further comment about it.
Wait,
I have no further comment, it's my debris, vegetative debris that I put in this canyon, and that's it.
Mr. Broussard, I have some questions. Specifically, to clarify, are you saying that the area where you are growing mushrooms is about the area of this meeting room?
I guess so.
Okay.
I mean, rough estimate.
Okay, so, an additional question, I would like for you to explain.
Right now, just to say right now, that's where the beginning stages are, yes. I just wanna make sure I'm answering your question correct, properly.
What do you expect your mushroom, the area where you're actually farming mushrooms, how much area do you expect that to take up? Is it the size of this room?
No, the plan for it to be a little bit bigger than this area, because I gotta be able to have room for my equipment to put down. First of all, it was a canyon, so it was I had to build it up to get my.
So are we talking like half acre?
No, I can shoot a wild guess, say, a couple acres.
Okay.
Ever been low surface, below ground surface, when you look across, like right now, you drive by, you can see a little mound of mulch, and that's it. And you have to look deep into my property, which is beyond 500 feet from the road.
Okay, so take me through, what does this process look like? I'm wanting to understand, I understand that there's some mushroom farming where you actually use a log, bore into the log, that kind of thing. What type of mushroom farming? That is the specifics that I'm looking for.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't have all the specifics. The reason why, I've even called, like I said, Mike Strand, USDA, all of them, and they're asking different questions. I have one gentleman that does this, similar to this, in St. Martin Parish right now that does this. He's doing it commercially, from what I understand. I'm not. And from what I understand, they're about to retire from that. And as soon as he retired, his wife retires, he's agreed to work with me to help me, because even talking to Mike Strand, he said, this is an interesting, way of farming and, repurposing, but it takes some expertise. And he said, the best thing to do is if you can work with other people that have done it in the past. He said, but it's such like, I said, what's the deal? It's like this secret society group of people that, to even, when you ask them for help. Because my neighbor, just to say from Bro Bridge, he said, Billy, you're gonna have to wait till my wife retires. I ain't helping you at all till she retires.
So the short answer is you don't know how you're gonna do it.
I'm not 100% sure. No, I mean, this is like gardening. So the thing is if somebody in here says, okay, you're trying to grow a certain type of vegetable in your garden. So, I don't think anybody else that has a garden in here has to come before planning and zoning and say, okay, explain to me how exactly you're doing your cucumbers. So the thing is I'm doing this beyond 500 feet from the road. It's a learning experience. Just like when I talked to USDA, I asked them, I said, can you help me more? They said, look, you experiment with it, and you call us back and tell us how you made it work. So the thing is,
I have an additional question.
Yes, sir.
So let me clarify for me, when it's stated on here, place tree and vegetative debris to feed the mushroom. So I'm assuming that trees are gonna be cut down and maybe at a separate location, and you're gonna truck those in,
Yes.
dump them, and then use the excavator to place in this area where you're gonna farm these mushrooms.
For the most part, yes.
So is there any kind of preparation that has to be done specific to the tree debris itself whenever you dump it, or you just dump it?
Right now, I'm layering it. Right now, there's a cliff, it's a canyon, so, and there's been lawsuits in the past on the other side. They were arguing that there was erosion issues, because it drops in that area. So I went with the excavator, my Bobcat, and I've been layering it to where, like I said, when you look across, you can't see. So I've been there for a year and a half, and right now, if you drove by, you would have to really get in a position to be able to see anything back there.
Could you point out on this plat where you are dropping these trees, where? And what location, where?
So Mr. Broussard, I'm assuming that these truckloads of vegetation, trees, and what have you. So to farm that area size that you're speaking of, how many truckloads are we talking about?
I don't know. But I mean, like, just to say, for instance, the last month, I haven't brought a truck at all.
No.
If I understand right, in the last month, I haven't brought a truck.
How about the last year?
Oh yeah, the last year I brought some loads in. I'm not sure.
You have any idea on that?
No.
Less than 100, More than
Yeah,
that.
well, I'm gonna say less than 100. I'm not a real big company. I'm not,
Between 50 and 100.
I say a company where I do have a tree service, I am an arborist, and I have access to this material. So the thing is, it's not like I'm bringing my truck, that particular truck hauls it, has not been there. I think I can look at my phone, but I think it's been a month since it's been there.
But in the last year, between 50 and 100 truckloads somewhere in there.
I don't know, I could agree with you, but I'd just be guessing.
Mr. Broussard, do you have any idea of if this is to be used to fill the mushrooms? If you form this area, that amount, how many truckloads do you think that it would take to feed the mushrooms for this area? Let's say in 6 months, a year.
I don't know, I'm gonna be honest, John, I can sit here and guess at a bunch of things, which is not, my plan is to continue to go back and forth to my property. So I own this property, so I'm gonna be going back and forth to my property. I go there pretty often. I mean, I go there just to say all the time. So me going back and forth on my property and go with the trucks, I don't know.
I'm not talking specific about you going entry to your property. My question is, the amount of mushroom farming you propose, how many truckloads of feed will it take for this in a given 6 months, 1 year? I'm trying to get an idea of what this operation is.
Well,
And
it's a
how
pretty-
much tree debris would be
I
deposited
don't know,
there.
like I said, it's hard to answer those questions, it really is. I'd be just shooting in the dark. And the thing is, like I said, I don't think anybody else in here that farms or does any type of gardening anywhere back there has to come in here and try to give some sort of garden plan on exactly, so they'd be guessing probably also. Their estimates would probably be, on what they're doing would be easier to probably answer questions than on mine. So this is a private, I want to remind you, this is a private piece of property. No business, there's no business plan, there's no customers, there's no, you're not gonna see no big flat flags along the road of, hey, come here, this is where I'm selling mushrooms. I'm not selling mushrooms. This is a experimental, me and my family going on my property and would like to be able to go there without paparazzi in the back of their field taking pictures of it and all, and people trespassing on my property and hunting my property and say, look, this is my property. I got some little girls. We go back there and fish. We there all, we go there all the time and fish. It's private
We're not here
property.
to talk about your fish.
It's private property, sir, and I told you that more than
It's private
once.
property. Every piece of zone property in St. Martin Parish is private property. That's no question. You got the right to do anything on private property for which it is properly zoned.
I'm glad you brought that up. I want to do what everybody else in St. Martinville and St. Martin Parish does in regards to R2 or Ag 2. Have a garden, have their private piece of property, and be able to do things that they want to do. If they want to have cows, if they want to have horses, they want to have sheep. I just want to do what everybody else. I want to do what my neighbors are doing, where they got animals.
You're in possession of information that leads us to conclude that an activity you're describing on there is not A2, but is I3.
What's I3?
That's the disposal of trees and branches and limbs. Now, the purpose of this commission is to gather information and make recommendations to the parish council. One thing, our understanding is that you have a business where you cut down trees, trim trees, take away stumps. Is that correct?
Which is not before the commission today. I did not come today prepared to discuss any other business or any other activities I got going on. I have
We're trying to get
access.
a handle on how much trees you're talking about there, because
I think it's
we
irrelevant.
can do
I think it really is irrelevant. It's my private property and I can go
It's
to my
not
private
irrelevant
property.
to this commission.
It's a private piece of property that I
Are you
want to have a
refusing to answer
garden.
the question
There's
about
no
the-
business activity.
Are you refusing to answer the question?
No, I don't know how to answer it.
Mr.
What,
Broussard,
you don't, you tell me you're not gonna.
No, I don't know. You saying, well, how many trucks? How many? I don't know.
You don't know how many trucks?
No, I don't.
What is the growing season on the mushrooms?
Not sure. This is a experimental process.
You don't know the growing season?
This is an experimental process, and at the beginning stages, I have a canyon, and when I first got there, I cleaned the property, I scraped and it just drops. So I said, you know what, this is where I'm gonna start. So this is the start. So the thing is, the same thing with our friend that's out of Road Bridge. It was an experimental process. I'm waiting that any day, hopefully his wife's gonna retire, and he's gonna help me more and more in regards to my private, personal. And the thing is I feel kind of funny about it, me doing things on my private property, to where I don't want, like I posted my property, because I don't want people, I already got enough trespassers coming on my property. You understand? So if I say, look, I'm doing this, this, and this, there's a lot of issues with theft and other things. This is a private thing. You know what I'm saying? I got my little girls and little kids out there.
Nobody's disputing that.
Right, so the point is I think anybody here,
Well,
if
you're
they're
not
doing
talking
something,
about the issue in front of the council.
that's my answer.
Mr. Broussard, my question was specific to how much tree debris you would place.
Not sure.
And that's specific to the fact that on this application, this petition, you are stating that you would place the tree and vegetative debris specifically to feed the mushrooms.
Correct.
So it's my understanding right now that you have no idea what that would be.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I didn't come prepared to answer that question, so I don't know. I just know the other thing is you put this there and it breaks down. You
Right.
put the vegetative debris there, it breaks down. So the thing is, that's where I started. And I said, you know what? Because I'm not focusing, this is not my only focus on my piece of property. I have 33 acres. So the thing is, I've been doing, what I've done the majority on this property with equipment running, that excavator running, was not playing with my little mushroom experiment. My issue has been drainage.
But
That's what I've been doing the majority of
about
work.
the drainage, the question is specific to the mushrooms. So,
I don't have the answer for you, I'm sorry.
so do you have any other information at this time that you can share with us specific to the items that you listed on your petition for rezoning?
I think that's, I don't think I can answer the other question here, because I'd just be shooting in the dark. Like I said, the last 30 days, I think it's 30 days, I wasn't there at all. The livestock, I don't know exactly where I'm gonna build my fence. There's certain, there's some areas that where a fence would go, the property drops, no secret. There's other people that there's been lawsuits about this property, about erosion issues close to property lines. So where exactly I'm gonna even put the fences, I'm not sure. I wouldn't even, you couldn't see the place. When I bought the property.
It's your property, you can put the fencing wherever you want, that's not.
No, you can't. But my point is there's places I'm cleaning. When I'm telling you, I got to this piece of property, it wasn't like there was a real estate agent said, let me drive you around this piece of property. This was just woods and just overgrown
That's not
mess.
relevant to any of the issues before the.
My point is that's what I've been doing, is cleaning. So to say where I'm gonna put my
It doesn't matter
cows,
what
you
you
asked me
do.
a question where I'm gonna put my cows. I don't
No, I
know.
didn't ask you where you put your cows.
Let me restate my question. Do you have any additional information you can share with us specific to the growing and placement of tree debris?
I think that's all. I think I answered all the questions I think I can answer. That's the answer that I can answer for you. I think that's pretty much it.
Committee members, do you? any
Does
other
anyone
questions?
else have any questions for Mr. Broussard?
Just for some clarity, I'm listening to what you're saying about canyon and this and that and whatnot. And if I'm understanding right, the canyon isn't even supposed to be filled completed, which the trees decay, it takes a period of time. So in other words, for me to understand, you're gonna need to put a whole lot more tree debris into that hole to maintain the level for a short period of time, right?
You're right.
That's
It does
ongoing, so
continue.
that would
It's
be
ongoing.
ongoing.
It breaks down, you put it, you layer it. Eventually I'll catch up where I can work one area. Because like I said, it was a canyon. I mean, other people can tell you that, my neighbors, it's a canyon. So the thing is eventually I'm gonna work an area, I'm just gonna keep going back and forth. So yeah, I guess if I answer it.
And not being out of the box with this, but the concern I've been hearing and what I'm getting from this is that because of the tree being hauled from, I'm gonna just say, outside of the parish to be brought there, I'm just kind of concerned with that, before you could get to that point, to be able to bring it in there and truck it on Bouchon Road is a concern for me, because that's gonna be an ongoing, with regards to what you say, to me, it's an ongoing thing, it's not gonna end, bringing trees in, period.
That's in my garden. It's
Yeah,
like-
no,
We kinda like the sugar cane farms, equipment and tractors will be going back and forth to the property, yes. And I'm not on it, yes, it's not like, okay, I ride to this point next month, and then that's it. This is a, same thing with the cows, you'll see probably horse trailers, different things, hay wagons, different things coming onto the property. So yes, I'd be like I'm requesting to do like every other farmer. We gotta go, I don't think this is for this committee to discuss me being able to go back and forth to my property. But the thing is, within the perimeters of that property, which is explained in this, within that area, I want to farm that area. I want to do farming and agriculture, the majority of what St. Martin Parish is known for, farming and agriculture. I want to farm and agriculture, do farming and agriculture on my property.
My point is the fact that to take care of that 33 acres you're talking about, whatnot, you gotta feed, fuel, whatever. To get to that point, you got to pass in front of somebody else's house.
And I don't think
I
that's what
know
we
New
do.
Shawn Road very well.
Okay.
I'm in that area.
All right.
And I'm just asking because that's a concern, I'm not discussing that, but bringing this in, and I can tell you, I've had that to happen to me. The trucks coming down the road, they're coming from out of Parish, and they're bringing it there, but you gotta sit down and watch these guys, and how they handle the truck getting on that road, and the road is barely for one vehicle. But you're still trying to do A, but you need B, C, and D in order to make A happen.
I'll be honest with you, I didn't come prepared to talk, I didn't think we were talking
No,
about.
I just want you to let me know, all the trees ain't coming from your property, or won't be coming from your property
No.
to feed them, because I know in one area very close to us now, that did that years ago, and ended up shredding and grinding it up, and supposed to be giving it out to the community. Next thing you know, it was, they had to cease because it was termite ridden and they contaminated so many houses with the funny. I'm just,
Where is that at? I'm just curious.
well, it's coming now, it happened in Lafayette.
Oh, Lafayette?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that was in Lafayette. But I'm just asking because that was stuff being brought in from outside, and I'm just curious about that, because you're gonna be, that's ongoing.
Right,
If
it
you
is
can,
always
you
going.
bring in more.
It'd be like all the other farmers, every year you see tractors and trucks and stuff moving down the road, yes, no doubt. I'm not trying to tell you, I'm not trying to lead you on and say, oh yeah, this is only gonna be till, 2 months from now, then that's gonna be it. I mean, like my dad, he has a little farm on Duchamp. They got cows and animals and everybody else farming everywhere on St. Martin Parish in March. I want to be able to do the same, and it was mentioned that, or requested that we request to add to it, and that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, but you put the two, yeah.
My question, you say that this is experimental. I understand that. Are there any control measures in place where, control the, mushroom population group, and it won't cross over to other people's property? Because I know that mushrooms carry spores, and with the weather conditions that we've been having, then, have you anything in place to make sure that those mushrooms stay on your property?
I kept we got a good border of 500 feet right now, which is say like that's the plan, 500 feet beyond the road. I've done it, you've seen the area, it's 33 acres, like I said, it's not just a couple of acres like the norm back there. They have, drainage. I've made my water stay within my property for the most part, all in that area, that water will stay on my property. I'm not trying to drain my yard into someone else's. Yeah, I would say drainage is probably the most, that's why when I bought the property, drainage was probably that's why I talked about it the most, because that's, if anybody heard equipment and everything, and oh, he's doing this much, no, that whole time, a lot of that was drainage.
Because the spores can travel by wind too, and that's a primary concern. Will it be hypogeas or epigeas?
It's mainly the edible mushrooms that you got.
No, but I mean, how are you gonna grow them? Under or on top?
Not sure yet. Not sure. I mean, because I've talked to many different people. I got a state representative here from the north side of Lafayette. We helped me get hooked up with a doctor. And that's one of the colleges. And I've been putting it off, and they have grown certain mushrooms there. He's one of them that we've been looking forward to meeting each other and we want to do much. And they give me some of their ideas. So this is something that you know, we have St. Martin Parish, it's known for sugarcane, but it's nice to be able to, you know, like the commissioner, talking to the commissioner of the state of Louisiana, he said, this is very interesting, and it's very, if you know, this is something good, because if you can make this work, this is another crop, another product that could be grown in Louisiana. So, we, you know, the people I've talked to, they said, you know, the humidity, the moisture, have the perfect setup, it's away from everybody. You know, it's a canyon, it's just the ideas, it's like everybody I pitched it to, talking with was like, sounds like a, you know, definitely a good place to start, you know.
So you can't grow mushrooms just on a flat piece of ground?
I guess you can.
So what is the suitable property conditions to grow mushrooms? Is it?
Not sure, we're experimenting. Like I said, I called USDA.
I mean, it's.
USDA told me the same thing. The same thing I'm telling you, USDA told me.
But like
You
the
go
cane farmers are farming on flat ground, you know, they're not looking for canyon. So this canyon that you have looked at in the property, this, and you in the treatment, it seems to be some way or an easy fashion for you to get rid of your debris and potentially grow mushrooms. And I'm asking because I don't understand mushrooms. I never grew them, I don't know nothing about them.
I'm learning
So
myself.
I'm trying to find, how are you gonna continue putting tree debris and you're trying to grow mushrooms? When are you gonna plant the mushroom? And if you're gonna continue to put tree debris in there, how's all that gonna work?
Like I said, I started in one area, it was a drop off. I mean, just,
Yeah, I'm saying, you feel
So
it.
I started, and I've been working it, and it's tapered down. It's being tapered down. Well, I started, and I'm just gonna work my way.
At what point do you stop and plant the mushrooms? And when you stop, you know,
Probably-
after that, what,
It's probably because based on how I'm placing, like you mentioned what you just said, okay, you're placing it, when you're gonna act, and I need to, like at this particular point, I'm trying to go further back, like I'm at about, say 550, 600 feet from the road, and my idea is to continue going back to where, like you said, where I can have room for my machine to place the debris, continue to place the debris, and then I can start growing it on this other side.
I think, you know, Mr. Broussard, I think if I'd have been, you knew there was some repercussions with your neighbors. You knew that. If I'd have been coming to this meeting, to this board, I would have come prepared.
I came already though. I've come to this board before. At a
Well,
meeting, at the end of a meeting, I came up here and I asked, I said, I'm considering this. You know what they told me? Good luck. They said, are you trying to start a business? I said, no. They said, good luck. This board is for people that want to start a business. I said, no, it's for private use. I said, good luck. So I came, I'm being honest, I came here and asked.
I've been sitting on this board a long time. I must have been at that meeting.
Mr. Carl, they call him Paul, S.A. there, he can tell you, he witnessed, because he was here, and actually the same day, there's the day that, Mr. King with Guy's Towing, he was here trying to get some property zoned, down in Bro Bridge.
Yeah, I'm not.
So the things, that's it, I just remember coming that day, because I,
But I guess the point is just, you know, I guess I would have come prepared to be able to tell the audience, you know, how's this process gonna work? I mean, I think a lot of these people are concerned that there's gonna be continuous trees hauled in, and you're gonna use it as a dumping site, opposed to trying to convince them to say that, no, I'm gonna explain to you how this is gonna work, how you grow mushrooms, but you can't tell us how you're gonna grow them.
because I'm in the beginning stages, and then when I called even USDA, they said, you're gonna have to experiment, and you're gonna have to just work it, and figure it out, and you call us.
Well,
So
what's
that's USDA.
But, I mean, but your plan going, you gotta have an idea of your footprint, how this, you know, my concern, you're gonna plant them? You know, how long does it take, then you harvest them?
I think,
You gotta come back and put more trees, you know, how's this
the
process?
thing is, I think this is really, I mean, I'd tell you what, it'd be a good idea if I could do like a public records request and get an example of some other person that had private property, that had a garden, and was gardening, and where they answered questions like you're asking me now.
No.
Yes.
We have people that come in front of this board at all times with all sorts of requests.
It's a
It's
gardening,
very
it's
similar
gardening.
request to yours. This is a little different request, only on the fact that basically you have access to this debris material, which you and every other tree arborist and tree cutter has to dispose of. And you just have a place that you can come in from outside the parish and try to filter some way to justify some reason to use this property to dump debris.
It was a
And I'm
waste of
just
power.
saying to me, to explain to this board and explain to your neighbors, to come in here with your ducks in a row, to say exactly how this process is gonna work, how often you're gonna come and dump trees, how many trees it's gonna take. What, you can't answer any of these questions. So
Because it's a process of learning. I mean, the thing is, it's experimental. I told that to even our parish president. It's an experimental process that I'm going through. So the thing is that, I mean, I can't answer it. I can't, you know, like, you're asking me to answer questions on it.
We have one quick question Mr. Taylor has, and then we're gonna move to public comment.
Yes, sir.
Trucks and trailers was mentioned a lot, so what are the size of the trucks and trailers, like, you know, yardage wise, as size on these roads as on residential?
We'll put it this way, I was pulled over by a state trooper, not me, but
I
one
didn't
of
even
my
know
trucks.
what size.
I'm gonna answer the question. I'm just
So
gonna
many
answer the
trucks,
question.
are you talking
When
about?
that day, when he
And
pulled
that
me over,
explains your answer.
state trooper pulled me over, when he pulled me over that day, I put a video public. That particular truck was a 40-yard truck, which tree vegetative debris, most state troopers know that vegetative debris is not dirt. It's not heavy like dirt and mud and all this other organic materials that are all. Vegetative debris is not near as heavy, so it was a 40-yard roll-off truck that I had. And that's that's the one truck that I had. that I
Weight
made.
capacity fully loaded,
Sir?
what's the weight capacity of a fully loaded 40?
I don't know, I'm gonna be honest with you. I really don't.
Thank you, Mr. Broussard.
Thank you, Mr. Broussard.
Thank you. Oh, first of all, I want to tell Ms. Morgan, thank you very much for explaining to the constituents that did call about the false information that they were being told, and you reading the public notice that y'all put out, because it's, what the public notice y'all put out was completely different than what, you know, all these brochures that were handed out. So thank you very much for that.
No problem.
Thank you, Mr. Broussard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So at this time, if anyone in the audience would like to address this committee, please come on up. State your name for the record. We will try to progress this as quickly as we can. So if you would, specific to what's before the council.
I'm gonna try to clear some of this up for you.
State your name, please.
I'm sorry, I'm Scott Lopez. I live at 1734 Duchamp Road. Right here's what I'm handing y'all. This is, which I'm gonna explain later, which is just some of the logs that we have of Mr. Broussard continuing to illegally dump on the property. He was talking earlier in reference to about 20 trucks, but he's been operating since, as you can tell on the top, July 29th. I'm gonna get into more of that. But I'd like to start off by saying thank y'all to those elected officials and employees of St. Martin Parish government for the jobs y'all have done and are currently doing to help keep St. Martin Parish a safe and beautiful place to live and raise our families. In the past, you have addressed the same issues in reference to rezoning in and around our residential neighborhood that we're here for today. And just like in the past, we hope to reject the request presented to you today. We're here today to voice our concerns as concerned residents and to let the zoning board know that we do not support the rezoning of the property on Duchamp Road. Right now, I want to pull my son up, Benjamin Cole. He's a 17-year-old, graduated, he's a senior at Louisville High School. And one day he just emailed me something and said, "Dad, I wrote something I want to talk to y'all about." He sent it to me. I didn't touch it. This is his words from a 17-year-old's heart and mind. Benjamin Cole.
Good evening. My name is Benjamin Lopez, and I currently reside in Duchamp Road. I have enjoyed living here for almost 18 years because of our phenomenal neighbors and the scenery environment our location provides. However, I am convinced that it is no longer to be the home I cherish if it is rezoned. This is the reason why I'm here this afternoon. I'm here to discuss my opinion on how my neighbors and I feel about the rezoning of the mixed residential property 1675 Duchamp Road, Broussard, Louisiana, to an A2 agricultural field court rangeland. Mr. Billy Broussard would like to develop this residential land to an operational property where he can keep livestock, storing and baling hay, growing mushrooms, and place tree debris and vegetable debris to feed the mushrooms. However, Mr. Billy Broussard has already started keeping livestock under his barn on the property located at 1675 Duchamp Road, even though he did not get the permit to do so as of today. Therefore, he says he's going to be putting just tree debris, but if he is already not following the restrictions on the property that are applied, who knows what he might transfer this dump into. Also, I'd like to mention that Mr. Billy Broussard has already started storing and selling hay from his open storage unit on the property. The storage building I'm talking about is a red rectangular building which advertises his company's name and his phone number, which can be found near the front of his property facing the road. I'd like you, the committee, to think of your current home and ask yourself, would I like a tree dump down my current road I live down? I think it's a pretty obvious answer. The answer is no. No one in his or her right mind would agree to want a dump near their home. And I can tell you exactly why nobody would. The first reason is because it's going to increase the driving activity down the road because of the big trucks that will be traveling to and from the property. On a rainy day, the big trucks will be flinging mud onto your nice, just paved road, which is already cracking due to the big trucks and the amount of traffic that continue to travel down it. Who wants that? If there is a sign at the end of each corner of a road stating, "No through trucks," it's obviously there for a reason. The reason is simply there to keep Duchamp Road from developing potholes, keep traffic from backing up at the railroad tracks, and I'm sure there are many more. If big trucks are allowed down Duchamp Road because of the rezoning of the property, the parish will be responsible for fixing every pothole that occurs, which is money that could be spent on other issues in our parish. However, the most important reason why the residents of Duchamp Road would not like the rezoning of the property is because of the simple fact that every property value will decrease for every property down Duchamp Road. Thank you for listening and giving me your full attention, and please ask yourself before voting. How would I feel about this situation if I was a current resident that lived down Duchamp Road? Thanks again, and have a great rest of the day.
Just about sums it up, but he did miss a few things. Okay? Mr. Broussard is involved and owns businesses which profit from baling and selling hay, raising cattle to sell and or slaughtering, grooming trees in a tree removal where he hauls the cut branches to a dump for disposal. And he also owns a demolition service where he tears down structures and removes the structure debris from the property and transports it to dumps. Benjamin touched base on a lot of the issues that we're here for today over the planning and zoning. Mr. Broussard's specific reason is to use the property to keep livestock, store and bale hay, grow mushrooms, place tree and vegetative debris to feed mushrooms. The thing Benjamin really didn't speak too much about is already, he speaks about keeping the livestock there already and doing the hay deal. But he didn't explain too much about Mr. Broussard ignoring the land restrictions and illegally operating his businesses since he purchased the land, or how he has also been dumping and allowing other companies and people to dump on his property illegally since he purchased the land. The list I handed y'all is what the neighbors have gathered just by the time we've been there, okay? We started noticing this and we started taking pictures. Starting July 29th and continuing to December 4th, which is approximately 4 months, which Mr. Broussard is correct. After December 1st, we haven't been seeing his trucks. We have eyewitnesses, pictures, videos proving that Mr. Broussard has been illegally dumping tree debris from his company on the property and allowing other companies to do so as well. We have pictures of Mr. Broussard's tree service trucks actually dumping on the property. We have videos of Mr. Broussard on an excavator located by the dump and placing tree debris into a small pond located already on the property. We have pictures of mud on the roadway from vehicles leaving Mr. Broussard's property already. We have pictures of Mr. Broussard's tree service truck pulling a trailer with his man lift and other heavy equipment belonging to his tree service, which is stored at his location already. We have Mr. Broussard also storing big trucks and heavy equipment for his tree service there, and he's advertising for his company on the billboard which he stores his hay in. correct me if I'm wrong, but obviously, Mr. Broussard has been illegally operating his tree service from the property since he purchased it on Duchamp. It wasn't until October 4th, 2021, when Mr. Broussard submitted his petition for his rezoning. So not only has Mr. Broussard been operating his business illegally on Duchamp, he's continued to operate after requesting his zoning, knowingly he was doing something wrong. Mr. Broussard continues to demonstrate his lack of respect to the laws and zoning of St. Martin Parish and his lack of respect to the residents of Duchamp Road and surrounding areas. I'm just like y'all. He never presented any information to us about the mushroom. Obviously, he has no information. And I also have drone footage, which I was going to show y'all tonight, and pictures of his trucks illegally dumping and hauling on the property. I do have it on my phone. If anyone y'all want to see it, I'll be more than happy to show y'all a few of them. But let me know. We all know the purpose for the request for the rezoning has nothing to do with keeping livestock, or storing baling hay, or growing mushrooms. Personally, I have no issues with Mr. Broussard raising a few head of cattle, or a couple horses, personally, for him or his family. Nor do I have any issues with him storing or baling hay for the few cattle he raises. His father lives right next to him. And yes, that's a topic for another day about zoning. But yes, he does operate a cattle farm next to my house. Nor do I have issues with him feeding the cows, whatever. But I do have an issue if he brings in a large number of cattle to raise as a business for profit, like he has been dumping illegally, running a business for profit. The main purpose is to dump trees and vegetation debris to, so say, feed the mushrooms. In other words, it's going to be to legally be able to get access for big trucks to his property via Duchamp Road so he can profit from the dumps, which he's already been doing. And I want to touch base more on the roadway issue. If Mr. Broussard wanted to dump cut trees, branches, debris from his business for profit, and the canyon is located on his property purchase, why didn't you just say that? If Mr. Broussard wanted to sell hay, he bailed for profit, just say it. If he wanted to raise cattle there to sell or slaughter, just say it. I mean, that's his business, right? He bought the land. That's how he makes money.
Mr. Lopez, just to let you know, I think we have several people.
Okay, I'm gonna cut down to the meat and potatoes. We know why, because he has a better chance of getting rezoned to do agriculture. Mr. Broussard does not care about what he's doing. The agriculture, A2, yes, he can raise his cattle, store his hay, just like y'all said in the mushrooms, but nowhere in this permit uses defined in A2 zoning allows dumping of tree and vegetative debris. For Mr. Broussard to be able to do that, like you said, DEQ also specifically states that the placing of tree and vegetative debris falls under Type 3 facility, which is in I3 zoning. Mr. Broussard is only doing this so he can make profit. He knows it would be much easier to convince people for A2 versus heavy industrial. I'd like to know one good thing that it does for Duchamp Road. It won't help the condition of the road and traffic. The integrity of Duchamp Road is not designed to handle the weight of the heavy trucks. Y'all talked earlier about the width of Duchamp Road. I measured a width on LA 347 around milepost 12, which is a couple miles north of the sugar mill heading to Parks. The measurement on the state highway is 23 foot 11 inches from fog line to fog line, which Duchamp Road doesn't have. And from edge of roadway to edge of roadway is 28 feet. From edge of pavement to edge of pavement. Duchamp Road in front of my residence measures a whopping 18 foot 3 inches with no improved shoulders and very little unimproved shoulders, which the road is already breaking up and depleting quickly because of all the traffic and big trucks that travel through there, cutting across from 182 to 92-1, which is hence why it's posted no through trucks. It's also going to increase the number of crashes at the intersection of Duchamp Road and LA 182, which we all know very well about because there are already a lot of traffic. With the railroad, it's not regulated with a red light. It's going to be due regard for public safety. Just the other day, the 18-wheeler got stuck on the railroad track. It happens regularly right there. There is a purpose why the signs are there. It won't help with drainage. And I'd like to thank Mr. Broussard for the little he done with the drainage. But obviously, if you're going to continue to fill the ponds, the beautiful ponds located back there, with tree debris, it's going to, at the end of the day, mess up our drainage. It won't help the environmental and wildlife. We've been seeing we've been seeing a bald eagle fly there. It will increase the risk of the influx of termites in residential areas, just like you said earlier in Lafayette Parish. But nobody brought up about it catching on fire, which is going to destroy our environment and our kids and the health and safety with asthma and other medical issues, just like the town of Scott is going through right now with that dump. Internal combustions. It seems to be that mysteriously lightning strikes every landfill around here so they could burn trees. What I do know is Mr. Broussard will only be the person to profit from this. And by doing so, it will destroy the roads, endanger traveling motorists, lower our property values, contaminate our environment, and destroy our wildlife. We'll end it at this. A very smart and wise man, who is a very good friend of mine, once told me, you can paint a pretty picture with shit, but at the end of the day, it will still stink. And no doubt, that is what Mr. Broussard is attempting to paint for y'all, his picture today. Thank you again for listening and giving me your full attention. God bless, be careful driving home, and have a safe and yes, sir.
You said something that hadn't come up before. You said other people have been seen dumping trees out?
Yes, sir. I think, well,
Have you seen?
would people please stand that have been witnessing the trucks dumping?
Not this Broussard, other truck.
Yes, sir, we have. It was a purple dump truck, which I have a picture of.
Okay, all right.
Yes, sir. I have pictures.
Please give me a copy of that.
I sure will. But I know Miss Kathy Howell?
Yeah.
Miss Kathy Howell, I'm going to throw a curveball. She wants to speak real quick. We just have one or two other people. I told her, she lives directly across from the landfill, from Mr. Broussard's property. Okay? She wanted this, and this is a curveball. She didn't know I was doing this, but this goes to show you she's going to nip it from the hip and explain to y'all what she sees also. Thank you.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you know when we're at 5 minutes.
Okay.
So because,
It won't take long.
I certainly appreciate all the people that came in to participate in the process, and we want to make sure that we do all as quickly as possible. Please state your name.
Hi, my name is Kathy Howard. We live at 1676 Duchamp Road, which is directly across from Mr. Broussard's property. I have to say, I appreciate him buying the property. He has done some beautiful beautification work. Before he owned the property, it was very weeded, but now you can actually see the old sawmill, what's left of it. Not much is left of it. The one thing that I don't appreciate is his red trailer that advertises his Billy Broussard Tree Service. Every time I walk out of my house, every morning, every night, I see the advertisement. Every morning, every night, for the last couple of months, I've been seeing his big 18-wheeler truck go in his driveway, come out with trees. It's been very quiet for the last month, and I appreciate that. We've been living there for 18 and a half years. We moved to our property, which is 4.5 acres, so we could have a little bit of country. And I cannot tell you how much I appreciate St. Martin Parish. Anytime we have called, the parish government has just come out to help us at any point in time. And this is another time that I'm asking, please, please let our little neighborhood stay like it is. Please don't ruin our little bit of heaven. We named our land Miracle Acres for a reason. So I hope that you take that into consideration.
Good evening. I'm going to be real short and sweet. My name is Mindy Gerard. And I just learned about this issue mid-October.
Your address, Ms.
I live at 1057 View Jacquet. So I've been doing my research on a mushroom farm, unlike Mr. Broussard. Let's talk about it. There's over 100 types of mushrooms, but only 4 that are edible. All the rest are poisonous to humans. These 4 mushrooms grow in different mediums. The only one type of mushroom that will grow in a tree trunk, not a branch, not a limb, a trunk, is an oyster mushroom. Let's talk about forming that oyster mushroom. You have to take that trunk. It does not have to be connected to ground. You have to drill holes in it. You have to physically put a spore in that hole and cover it with a hot wax. And it takes a year for that spore to grow one mushroom. Now, on that tree trunk, there are only certain types of trees that an oyster mushroom will grow on. And I'm going to list those for you. A willow tree, a white birch, a sugar maple, an elm tree, and a beech tree. Are you guys telling me that Mr. Broussard is going to distinguish these types of trees when he goes and cuts somebody's yard, trims somebody's trees in their yard, or pick up hurricane debris? Is he going to distinguish these certain types of trees for this oyster mushroom to grow on? No, he's not going to do that. Is he going to take the large tree trunks out of it and put them just for these mushrooms? No, he's not going to do that. He's going to take all the little branches and leaves, along with all them trunks, and he's going to dump it all. So is it like he's doing now, like he's been doing? And he has a TRO that he's not supposed to be doing that since September the 8th. So, there is a mushroom farm in the state of Louisiana. It's located in St. Francisville. It's called Maggie's Mushroom Farm. I visited Maggie's. I drove all the way over there and visited with those people. She has 50 different types of mushrooms. They are all in contained buildings in certain mediums with the proper lighting, moisture, humidity, everything. She does not have one mushroom that grows on a tree trunk. So, are you telling me that he's going to do this on these tree trunks in this pit? No. Let's talk about another issue, termites. Mr. Rowland already talked about that in a different parish. I'm going to voice for all of these people. I think there's only 1 or 2 people in this neighborhood of 100 houses that live in a metal building home. Termites. Those termites come quickly to rotten debris. So my parents' 45-year-old house is going to be ate up with termites. Who's going to fix that? Mr. Chester Cedars? You guys? Him? No. Who's going to have to fix that? My 67-year-old parents have $200,000 worth of damage to their house for some termites. Is that fair to them? Is it? So I'm going to ask you, if this was in your neighborhood, would you approve these shenanigans going on? Would you like to live next to this? Mr. Scott mentioned lightning hitting tree debris. That'll be a smoldering mess. Who has to deal with that? Us. We have to breathe that. Our air conditioners soak that up. While he's in his house in Bro Bridge, living it up. Is that fair to us? No, it's not. So I'm going to ask you to put yourself in our home and make the right decision for us. Thank you for your time.
1672 Road, directly across the street from the property, next door to this guy.
What's your name again?
Christopher DeQueer. I got a couple questions for you guys. We come in here to zone this from R2 to Ag 2, and speaking with members of the parish, I've been told that as long as we do something less than what we're zoned for, that is okay. So can you give me the hierarchy of the zoning? My understanding, it's wood forest, Ag 2, residential, commercial, and then industrial. Am I wrong in that?
Like the levels of zoning?
Yes, ma'am. That's the way it's even written out in your zoning manual. So we're here to give him a less,
This isn't really the time.
well, my question is,
What is your question with regard to this?
my question is, we're reducing from R2 to Ag 2. If he's doing Ag 2, that's nothing within the zoning already. If he needs to go and if he wants to do dump, and he wants to dump vegetative debris from out, we shouldn't be looking at an Ag 2 zoning. It has to be above an industrial or something of that nature. Because your zoning laws state...
It's the position of the planning and zoning department that operating a tree landfill requires an industrial 3 classification. You can't do that under A2. That's the position of our planning and zoning.
Okay, so why is this being zoned to Ag 2?
It's more specific to that type of activity that they're requesting.
Okay, so I guess my question comes back to me. I live on 9 acres where I'm at. Do I have to come to you to put a barn and put some cattle behind my house? I do?
Mr. Broussard does, you do.
Well, no, according to your zoning law, it says I can go with anything lower than what I'm zoned for. Your hierarchy says agriculture is less than residential.
Each zoning classification has a list of things you can do.
I understand that, but your zoning laws state that I can do, as long as I'm R2, I can do R1, I can do agriculture, or I can do wood forest on my property. That's what the zoning law says. I spoke to Mr. Sears about this. He says I have no problem putting cattle or anything. So my question is, what are we doing here trying to put this as an Ag 2 zoning? Your laws state that this thing is already Ag 2 because it's less than R2. So yeah, if you ask me right now, go ahead, give him the Ag 2 all you want, because that puts more restrictions on him than he already has as an R2.
Let me, the petition, we're acting specifically to what he's petitioning, and he petitioned to go to A2.
I understand that. Go for it. It's less than what he has. He's more restrictive as A2 than he is R2.
I'm not sure we agree with it.
Well, that's between my discussion with Mr. Cedars and myself, and he said it is an issue with the current zoning laws, but the hierarchy states that I can do anything less. I can go build a house in a business area.
Sure.
So, as long as it's less than business, I can do that.
So
It's a step down. It's what it is. This whole thing is moot point. If he wants to dump trees and he wants it to be a tree dump, hey, I'm back here. I'm back here when y'all put him at I3. I'm here fighting it then. But we had Act 2. Come on, people. We need to know what we're doing here. That's all I'm asking for. I mean, I've done research for months to try to figure out what are we really looking at here. What are we doing? My personal opinion, make that thing Act 2 all day long. Because he has more restrictions. He can't do a whole lot of things that he can do in R2, R1, or all the other things. Make it even more restrictive on him. That's what you guys want, I'm for it. I would rather my whole neighborhood stay R2, but when I look at your laws, and it's a step down from R2, Ag 2 is a step down, I mean, he can do it already. If he can have Ag 2 there already. So that's nothing. This needs to be a legal battle, not with planning and zoning. It's something else. If he's operating an illegal business, look, I'm not here to discuss that. I know he's dumped trees there. It's his property. I live across the street. I sit in my recliner. I can see everything going on there. You got questions, let me know. The red building, yeah, I don't like looking at it every morning. There's a lot of things I don't like looking out my window and see. But you know what? What we're doing here is a moot point, is all it is. You're trying to give him a step down. I can't believe he'd even ask for that. And that's all I have.
thank you, sir.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Scott Saunier. I reside at 1654 Duchamp Road. I'm here on behalf of myself and my wife Elise, and also our neighbors at 1694 Duchamp Road, Judy Melanson, Bullard Jones, who also, as I do, stand in opposition to this variance request. Everybody's gone over most of the points that I would go over. Mostly just wanted to get my voice into the record. As Mr. Broussard indicated earlier, he already stands in violation of the zoning as it exists right now. His opportunity to make the case to us, the individuals in the neighborhood, his neighbors, about what his changes that he wants to make, and the operation, the mushroom operation, and all this kind of stuff. I feel like he was a little bit woefully unprepared to make that case to us, and I was certainly prepared to listen to it, but there wasn't a whole lot of substance there. But while I applaud the efforts that he's made to improve the drainage and improve the property, in the end, I don't think anybody here would be especially happy about the idea of a dump of any variety landing in their neighborhood. And also, I think it's reasonable. I think the argument that Mr. Broussard is simply looking for an opportunity to increase his profits and find a place to dump all of the debris that he produces in his tree service. That doesn't seem an especially appealing thing for somebody to experience in the neighborhood. Traffic, obviously, is already an issue. People use Duchamp Road illegally. You see big trucks rolling through there all the time, trying to shorten the traffic. You guys have been on Duchamp. It's real narrow. There's no shoulder. It can be an issue. Tonight was the first time I heard about termites. That's a major concern. My wife and I just spent 2 years remodeling a 120-year-old Victorian farmhouse that is made entirely out of red cedar. So the idea of termites really is quite terrifying. But, yeah, everything's been. Yeah, that's all I had. Thank you so much.
And being sensitive to your time and of course the height of COVID concerns, is it safe to assume that others that would like to speak tonight, that what you have to say has already been, we've heard, and what you have to say would be similar to what we've already heard already?
Yes?
Yes.
So, with that said, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak, and specifically because they haven't heard what they want to present to this committee? We have not heard it yet.
Thank you.
State your name, please.
Yeah, I kind of got the routine down in letters. It's Robert Burns. I reside at 4155 Essen Lane, apartment 228, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And many of you may already know that I have a video blog, and I'm very thankful for Louisiana's public open meeting laws, which give me the right to videotape these proceedings. They've been interesting, as have the previous ones that I attended on this matter. I didn't realize I was in the presence of so many legal minds who would come up and make extremely authoritative statements. But I can tell you one thing, I can read, and I've read every filing in this case. And I think it's going to get interesting. I really wanted to be there. All the, notice was referred to as TRO. There's a reason for that. That T stands for temporary. I really wanted to be there for the conversion to a preliminary injunction. I didn't get that opportunity, but it looks like we may go into overtime. So, so I don't see this issue being resolved tonight. So I want to thank all of you for your courtesy to me. I know some of you may not view me with the greatest heartfelt desires, and that's fine. I will say one thing very briefly, and I'll wrap up. I didn't bring my iPhone, but there was one media outlet who covered a previous episode of this discussion. I would have to ask him to examine his own conscience of how he could publish something that had that many factual inaccuracies. And I think it may be interesting whether there were some inaccuracies, albeit they would be stated very authoritatively. Like I said, I had no idea there were this many lawyers in the room. But, you know, I think that any future legal proceedings, I would imagine they will take place, and I can't wait to be there and report on them outside the courthouse. Thank y'all once again for your courtesy, and I hope everyone has safe travels back. I probably have the longest distance to go, so I hope you will also extend me safe travels back. And I look forward to whatever the next chapter brings.
Thank you, sir. So again, to the audience, if you'd like to speak, that's fine. But would it be safe to say that, again, if you want to speak, certainly you're welcome to do so. But for the record, we can say that there are additional folks that were here to speak, and basically they will be stating their opposition.
Well, can we see a show of hands of people who object to this?
How about if we stand?
Yeah.
That's a better idea.
So we have over 30 people here, and thank you.
49, I counted.
49.
That's assuming that nobody besides those two kept their seats.
Zach, what are we objecting to?
The application
Of rezoning.
of rezone.
Yeah, okay.
Of a dump.
I'll be very brief. My name is Keith Landry. I live at 1654B Duchamp Road. And I worry about opening up a Pandora's box, that every time we have a money-making issue come into a residential area, we have this take place. We have people that have been neighbors for, I've been living there for 42 and a half years. I've been married and living there for 42 and a half years. And yet we have some disgruntled neighbors down the way that think a little differently. And this has put a wedge in our rural lifestyle like you won't believe. So, you know, am I to imagine that every time we have a difference of opinion of who can make money how in our area, this is what it's going to come to each time?
Well, are you here in support or in objection?
I don't think a rural area belongs with a business unless, like years and years ago, there was another ordinance that grandfathered in my neighbor because they were already in business, okay? But I don't think we need new business in our rural area whatsoever. Not no new business, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Move on to agenda item number 6, review of preliminary final subdivision plats. We have none. Item number 7, review acceptance of roads. We have none. Recommendation of zoning classifications. We have none. Recommend text amendments to zoning ordinance. We have none. Committee members, at this time, I need a motion and a second to close public hearing. I have a motion from Mr. Gregory and a second by Mr. Lestraps to close public hearing. Please cast your vote.
District 2, Hoddy Road.
Okay.
District 6, how do you vote?
Yes.
District 7, how do you vote?
Yes.
District 8, how do you vote?
Yes.
District 9, how do you vote?
Yes. All right, members, do we have any additional discussion? Public hearing is closed.
Public hearing is closed. Yes, closed public hearing. Okay,
If no more discussion,
we don't have any discussion.
Well, I have a question. I go back to the original point that I spoke to Mr. Broussard about. I think there's, you know, the primary issue going on out here is the rehauling. And he's trying to utilize this mushroom growing for him and everything, he hasn't done his homework. And you know, if he was outside of the tree cutting business to where we can legitimately believe that this guy's gonna have to go and buy trees to haul in to legitimately form these mushrooms, we could maybe bend our ear a little bit. But in this case right here, he's in the tree service business, and it gives him an outlet to dispose of his debris based on his mushroom farm idea, which he's not really prepared for. He didn't come prepared at the meeting, you know, to explain the situation of exactly the A to Z, how do you farm mushrooms, which I think if I was an issue, I'd stood at a microphone, just like the young lady, and I had all my due diligence done on how to grow mushrooms. And I just think it's, I hate to say it, but it looks like to me he's just not prepared, and it's an easy outlet to go ahead and dispose of debris. That's the way I feel. So, I'm not sure I think, in no defense to you, Mr. Broussard, I think if you would come to this committee with a plan forward of exactly what it took, and, you know, but you couldn't, you know, you had no questions of answering anything as far as the farming and how long it takes to grow mushrooms. You know, what's it, you know, you weren't prepared for that.
Why are you doing 2 acres of one crop?
So yeah, you know, so we look, you know, we were just looking at, and I'm speaking for myself, just looking at that in general to see what to respect everybody out here, what's gonna go on. And only knowing the facts of that you are in this tree cutting business and you have access to debris. You know, so, I mean, that's just my view. I don't know anybody else view.
at this time, gentlemen, I need, this time, I'm entertaining any motion. Mr. Straps, could you please state your motion?
Yes, I have a motion, basically to deny the rezoning solely based on the fact that of what I just laid out to the audience about, I think that's fair grounds to me to believe that I think that this body ought to consider that. And maybe later on one day, if Mr. Broussard does his homework and he comes out here and he's got a plan and he can talk to his neighbors and he's fundamentally gonna get into this thing and be prepared, hey, maybe always can come back. But I think at this point in time, I just can't see us approving this, right? I think it's potentially gonna end up just being a landfill more than anything.
We have a motion on the floor by Mr. Straps. It is to.
Everyone can now please quiet while our commission, thank you.
The motion is to deny 1675 Duchamp Road, Broussard, Louisiana, rezoning from R2 to A2, and I need a second. Second by Mr. Erdogan. Please cast your vote.
District 2, how do you vote?
Okay.
District 6, how do you vote?
Yes.
Yes, you're approving.
No, no,
Yes,
I'm not.
in support of the motion.
District
I'm supporting
2,
my motion. Yes, I'm in support of my motion.
okay. No, are you voting to approve?
Oh, no, I'm
No,
sorry.
he's
No, I'm not voting to approve, no.
Voting to deny.
District 7, how do you vote?
Voting to deny.
District 8, how do you vote?
Voting to deny.
District 9, how do you vote?
Voting to deny. Request for rezoning has been denied.
The parish council has the, can you start over? The parish council has the final say, so we just are recommending it. So you're welcome to go to the parish council meeting and voice your opinion to the councilman, because they are in essence have the right to agree with what we do or overrule. They
If I
are.
just mention one thing, to the people that are my neighbors, my number's on the side of my box trailer with my hay. If y'all have any issues, I still own the property, I still will be there. So you're more than welcome to turn your truck or your car around in the driveway. Please don't go past about 100 feet. But anytime y'all got any issues, because I neighbor apparently 15 to 20 of y'all, if y'all got drainage issues or whatever, y'all should come and call me.
Just for the record, I'm here as a concerned resident. Thank you.
Mr. Broussard, those ponds that you talk about on your property, those are not ponds, those are dirt pits.
Ma'am.
You can't. Order. Quiet. Exit quiet, please.
At this time, we have a motion by Mr. Bergen to adjourn, second by Mr. Taylor. Meeting adjourned.
Wait.